All right, let's get started with your forecast. Hey, good afternoon. Happy Thursday. Thanks for joining us for your Thursday noon forecast. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox here with Hail Trace. Thanks for jumping in for that lunchtime forecast. Let's take a look at the big headlines today. We've got a high wind and hail threat for not only the plains, but also just to the west. We're also watching for the storm risk not only today, but also tomorrow and through the weekend. And we've got some extreme temperatures in both directions. Not only are we looking at record cool, seasonable cool temperatures for this time of the year, but also record heat. So we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But first, let's get to that big event that we have on the calendar here. The Texas Roofing Conference goes from September 11th through the 13th. Hail Trace will be there. We're very excited to see you there. If you are coming, head over to our Facebook page, go to the events section, and let us know that you are joining us. We do have an exclusive deal for the show for annual plans. So see Frank at booth 140 and he can get you set up with those plans. Let's take a look at what happened yesterday. You can see that we did see some high winds, some hail, all the way from the southwest up to the northern plains. We had 2-inch size hail just to the west of Pierre. You can see that here. Some pretty decent hail size. I think that's the max that I said we were going to get yesterday. It looks like that's what we saw. So it always feels good whenever your forecast is right? We also saw just under 2-inch size hail just to the north of Cheyenne, and I think we also saw that 1.75 inch, up to the north as well in Montana. So a lot of people getting hail yesterday. You can see that, I mean, it's pretty spread out between 3 different states there. So a lot of people getting some of those larger hailstones. Okay, let's take a look at what we can expect for today. Right now, we're seeing showers and storms anywhere from just to the west of Minneapolis, even a little shower here in Oklahoma, a little shower in Kansas and Nebraska as well. We've got showers and storms ongoing across the East Coast. This is exactly where we saw rain yesterday and the day before, so they've gotten some good rainfall totals up there. Seeing some showers and storms across Florida. I mean, that's pretty typical for this time of the year. We've got a few showers and wet weather across the West Coast, but really where we're looking for today is right in the middle of all of that, anywhere from the plains all the way out to the west near like Salt Lake City in Utah. Current temperatures are sitting in the 70s and 80s for most of us, a little bit cooler farther up to the north and east. 68 in Portland, Maine. We've got 74 in the Midwest. Not too bad. Still enjoying some of those cooler temperatures. But of course, Dallas, 89. And then you factor in those feel-like temperatures, or you factor in the humidity to get the feel-like temperature, it'll be even warmer. But 80 degrees here in Oklahoma City, we'll take it. Not too bad. You can still get outside, maybe find some shade for lunch if you want to sit on a patio. Find the AC in Texas, 90 degrees in Fort Worth right now. Of course, as I mentioned, factor in the humidity, factor in that moisture, and it feels even hotter. We've got 105 and climbing in San Antonio, 94 in Dallas, 89 in Florida. Not too bad. Usually we're at the 90s by this time out in Florida. Okay, taking a look at your future radar here. I'm going to take you off to the west first, and then we'll work our way back up to the northern plains. Taking a look at Salt Lake City. So we're watching for showers and storms to turn strong to severe this afternoon, firing off anywhere between about 1 and 2 o'clock this afternoon, continuing and tracking off to the east as we head into the evening hours, even into the late night. I think after the sun goes down, these storms will weaken significantly. However, just for some extra cushion there, I put the timing until 11 o'clock tonight. You can see those showers and storms still on the radar at this time. However, for the most part, have weakened. I would still keep an eye on these storms through the evening hours, however. Starting out pretty isolated, moving into widespread and scattered as we head into the evening hours. Now moving off to Colorado. So we're watching for showers and storms once again, turning strong to severe just to the east of Denver. You're going to see those pop up this afternoon, anywhere between about 3 and 4 o'clock, but I'm not worried about that severe risk until between 5 and 6 o'clock this evening. Storms will strengthen as we head into the evening hours. Keep an eye on this one right here. I think this could produce some stronger winds, maybe even some hail inside of these cores in the northeastern quadrant of Colorado. I have your largest hailstone up to 1.5 inches. That's a little bit smaller than what we saw yesterday. Still a pretty significant size, however. Wind will definitely be a factor with this. 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts are likely, and the timing for this anywhere between about 6 to 11 o'clock this evening. As I mentioned, you're going to see storms go up before then. However, that severe threshold right around 5 to 6 o'clock, lasting into the late evening hours. Now we're moving farther up to the north, so I'm taking you to the northern plains here, maybe. There we go. Now, if you look at the SPC risk for today, the SPC actually took this area off of their risk. So they originally had some small hail in this area. They went ahead and took it off. I kept it on just because I think some of these storms in the northern half here could definitely produce some smaller hail. I kept it at 1 inch or smaller. Your wind speed here right around 60 miles an hour or even lighter than that. I'm not terribly worried about the severity of these storms. They're going to be very marginally severe, so just above that severe threshold. However, I still think there's a chance, so I wanted to put it on the map for you today. There you are. There's your risk for hail up to the north. Here's a look at what we can see across the U.S. You can see out to the west, Salt Lake City, Cedar City could get some smaller hailstones, anywhere between about 1 inch to 1.25 inches, just larger than the size of a quarter. And then we'll be moving off to Colorado here. Better chances for larger hail down to the south. Now, I think if we could get an isolated storm, an isolated supercell with this, it's definitely possible to get some of that larger hail up to 1.5 inches. However, I do think the stronger winds and the majority of those strong storms will be in the northeastern quadrant of the state. So we'll have to see exactly where this lines up. If we can get an isolated storm down to the south, I think some large hail is not out of the question. And there's your risk for some small hail farther up to the north where you can see Grand Forks. I have a very low risk for quarter-sized hail. I would say about 1 inch, maybe even smaller than that. I think it's going to be a pretty low risk to get some decent hail up there. What's your forecasted max hail size for today? I have 1.5 inches, as I mentioned, and that would be for Colorado. And taking a look at that wind risk, that once again is in the northeast and eastern quadrant of Colorado, even extending farther out into Kansas and then even in the southern side of Nebraska. For some of those stronger wind speeds, anywhere between about 75 to maybe 80 miles an hour. I think we're going to stick on the lower side of that though. Another risk that we're watching for today, we talked about the hail risk, we talked about the wind risk. This is a look at that flood risk. We are watching for that right through the center portion of the Four Corners. You can see that these storms are moving pretty slowly, not terribly worried about the severity of these storms farther down to the south. However, we will be keeping an eye on that for that flood risk, and I think I have your flood map in there. There you go. So the highest risk for flooding, excessive rainfall is what we like to call it here in the weather world, but it leads to flooding, and it's going to be pretty isolated. It'll be in those areas that on your way home in your neighborhood, they always tend to flood. That's what I want you to watch out for here on your commute home and if you're headed to dinner this evening. Anywhere from the southern side of Utah, all the way up to northern Arizona, northern New Mexico, and southern Colorado. Okay, taking a look at your future radar for tomorrow as well. We're watching for showers and storms, once again, in a very similar spot to where we've been watching for those severe storms over the last few days. This will mainly be a plains event tomorrow. We once again have that risk for hail and high wind with these storms. As I mentioned, not only for tomorrow, but also for Saturday and Sunday. You can see those storms anywhere from the plains, as I mentioned. We've got northern Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, Montana included in this, and then Wyoming, Utah, and Colorado. Colorado is kind of bookended by these storms for tomorrow. Hail possible on the northeast side, hail possible across the west side as well. What we're missing is Denver, just right in the middle, just misses out on these storms here. Okay, let's take a look at the temperatures. We talked about that storm risk today. Here's a look at those temperatures, as I mentioned, on both sides of the spectrum. We have the record cool for this time of the year out to the west. I'm going to get you to Saturday here. There we go. On Saturday, temperatures are in the upper 60s and low 70s in this area. You can see kind of this area of cooler weather that's dipping down from the northwest, even into California here. What we're watching for here is just barely hitting that record low for high temperatures. I think 68 is one of the record lows out in northern Utah, and we're supposed to hit like 65. So not an extreme low temperature there. However, something to watch out for, at least something to give you a break from the heat. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we're still dealing with that heat farther down to the south into Texas and Oklahoma. 99 expected in Dallas on Saturday, 98 in Oklahoma. Factor in the humidity and all of the moisture in the air, it feels like the triple digits. So we are not getting rid of this heat anytime soon. Taking a look at that long-term outlook, as I mentioned, we are cooling down a little bit farther out to the north and west, warming up as we head into the end of August for the central and eastern portions of the state. This is your likelihood to see above average temperatures. So let's say the average is 92 here in Oklahoma City. We have a pretty decent likelihood to be above that 92. As I mentioned, 99 on Saturday, so we'll be well above 92. Taking a look at that rain chance here, unfortunately, we still stay dry here in Oklahoma. I actually saw an outlook yesterday in Texas saying that flash drought is very, very likely in this area because we have seen extreme temperatures and very, very little to no rain. So we would love some moisture in this area. Other places getting a ton of moisture over the next week or two, anywhere from the northern plains all the way out to the west. As we mentioned earlier, we do have a flooding risk in this area. And we talked about this yesterday, but in case you missed the forecast, I think this is very interesting. All eyes are on the tropics right now. So between August 28th and September 3rd, we have a high likelihood for cyclone development in this area. So the National Hurricane Center came out with this forecast on Tuesday, and it shows that we should have some sort of tropical activity as we head into the end of August and early September. So keep your eye out for that. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday afternoon. As always, follow us on all social platforms. We just posted a video on TikTok yesterday about billion-dollar weather disasters. So if you're interested in what we've seen so far this year, we've hit some record numbers. So if you're interested in that, head over to our TikTok or Instagram. Also, if you're interested in a hail map, wind map, or tornado map, give us a call at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com. You can also head over to our website to see a little bit more about what we do at hailtrace.com. Okay, thanks for joining us on this Thursday. We'll see you back here, same time, same place tomorrow.